In the annals of American history, certain events are shrouded in secrecy, buried under layers of classified documents, and protected by government officials who would rather see the truth fade into obscurity. Among these hidden chapters is the story of President Dwight D. Eisenhower's secret treaty with extraterrestrials, a story that, if true, could be one of the most extraordinary events of the 20th century. The implications of this event stretch far beyond the political and military spheres, raising profound questions about humanity's place in the cosmos and the true extent of government cover-ups. A mysterious disappearance. It was February 1954, and President Eisenhower was on vacation in Palm Springs, California, a respite from the intense pressures of leading a nation in the throes of the Cold War. Suddenly, the president disappeared. Official reports claimed he had been whisked away for emergency dental surgery, but rumors swirled that something far more extraordinary had occurred. According to numerous accounts and persistent conspiracy theories, Eisenhower had not gone to the dentist at all. Instead, he had been secretly taken to Edwards Air Force Base, then Muroc Airfield, to meet with representatives from an extraterrestrial civilization. This alleged meeting has become the subject of intense speculation, with some claiming that it led to a secret treaty between the U.S. government and these extraterrestrial beings. The story has been fueled by the testimonies of various witnesses, documents that have surfaced over the years, and circumstantial evidence suggesting that the government has been involved in a decades-long cover-up. The context: a world on edge. To understand why such a meeting would have occurred, it's important to consider the context of the time. The early 1950s were marked by intense Cold War tensions. The United States and the Soviet Union were locked in a nuclear arms race, each side wary of the other's intentions. Fear of nuclear annihilation was pervasive, and the possibility of a Third World War loomed large. At the same time, the UFO phenomenon was gaining prominence. Reports of unidentified flying objects had surged since the late 1940s, with sightings coming in from all over the world. In 1947, the famous Roswell incident sparked widespread interest in the possibility of extraterrestrial life. The U.S. government responded by launching investigations, most notably Project Blue Book, but these efforts did little to quell public curiosity or fear. It was against this backdrop of global tension and growing interest in UFOs that the alleged meeting between Eisenhower and the extraterrestrials took place. The idea that the President of the United States might have entered into negotiations with beings from another world may seem far-fetched, but to those who believe in the story, the stakes were high enough to warrant such an extraordinary event. The meeting at Edwards Air Force Base. According to various accounts, on the night of February 20th, 1954, Eisenhower was secretly transported to Edwards Air Force Base. There, in a highly secured hangar, he allegedly came face-to-face with beings from another world. These beings, often described as tall, humanoid, and pale-skinned, were said to have traveled across vast distances to reach Earth. They had come with a proposition, one that would change the course of human history. The extraterrestrials, often referred to as the Nordics due to their physical appearance, proposed a treaty. They offered to share advanced technology and knowledge with the United States, but there was a catch. In exchange for this information, they requested that the U.S. government cease all nuclear weapons testing and dismantle its nuclear arsenal. The Nordics expressed deep concern about humanity's destructive capabilities and the potential for nuclear war to not only devastate Earth but also have far-reaching effects across the galaxy. Eisenhower, a former general who had led Allied forces to victory in World War II, was reportedly torn. On one hand, the promise of advanced technology and the potential for peaceful relations with an extraterrestrial civilization was incredibly tempting. On the other, the Cold War made it nearly impossible to consider disarming the United States' nuclear capabilities. The threat from the Soviet Union was real and immediate, and giving up the country's nuclear deterrent could have dire consequences. Faced with this impossible decision, Eisenhower ultimately declined the Nordics' offer. The Cold War realities were too pressing, and the idea of disarming in the face of such a formidable enemy was unthinkable. However, the story doesn't end there. The Greys enter the picture. Not long after Eisenhower's encounter with the Nordics, a second group of extraterrestrials reportedly approached the U.S. government. These beings, known as the Greys due to their small stature, large heads, and gray skin, had a different proposition. Unlike the Nordics, the Greys were not interested in peace or disarmament. Instead, they offered advanced technology and scientific knowledge in exchange for something far more sinister: human subjects. The Greys proposed a trade. They would provide the U.S. government with access to their advanced technology, including anti-gravity devices, energy weapons, and even information on their propulsion systems in exchange for permission to abduct a limited number of humans for genetic research. The Greys assured the government that these abductions would be discreet and that the subjects would not be harmed. They also promised to erase the memories of those who were taken, so they would not remember the experience. This offer, while morally troubling, presented a significant advantage to the United States. The Cold War was heating up, and the prospect of gaining a technological edge over the Soviet Union was too important to ignore. After much deliberation, Eisenhower reportedly agreed to the terms, and the Greada Treaty was signed. The Greada Treaty. The Greada Treaty, as it has come to be known, is one of the most controversial and secretive agreements in history, if it indeed exists. According to various sources, the treaty allowed the Greys to abduct a limited number of humans each year in exchange for providing the U.S. government with advanced technology. The government was also granted access to underground bases where the Greys would conduct their research. In addition to the abductions, the Greada Treaty allegedly included provisions for constructing joint underground bases where humans and Greys would collaborate on various scientific projects. These bases were said to be located in remote areas such as the Nevada desert, including the infamous Area 51, and deep within the Rocky Mountains. The technology shared by the Greys was believed to include advances in propulsion systems, material science, and energy generation, knowledge that was decades, if not centuries, ahead of what humanity was capable of at the time. The signing of the Greada Treaty marked a significant turning point in U.S. history. While the public remained unaware of the treaty's existence, those within the government who were privy to the details were faced with the ethical and moral implications of the agreement. The decision to allow human abductions in exchange for technology was a Faustian bargain, one that would have profound consequences for years to come. The consequences. The Greada Treaty, if real, had far-reaching consequences for both the U.S. government and the American people. While the advanced technology provided by the Greys may have given the U.S. an edge in the Cold War, it also came at a steep price. One of the most immediate consequences was the increase in UFO sightings and abduction reports. Throughout the 1950s and 1960s, there was a significant rise in the number of people claiming to have been abducted by extraterrestrials. Many of these reports described similar beings, small, gray-skinned, with large black eyes, and detailed experiences that aligned with the terms of the Greada Treaty. Victims often reported missing time, strange marks on their bodies, and vivid, disturbing memories of being experimented on by the Greys. As these reports grew in number, the U.S. government was faced with the challenge of maintaining secrecy while addressing public concern. The result was a campaign of disinformation and ridicule designed to discredit those who came forward with their experiences. UFO sightings were dismissed as weather balloons, experimental aircraft, or simply the product of overactive imaginations. Abductees were labeled as delusional or attention-seeking, their stories mocked, and their credibility undermined. Meanwhile, within the government, there was growing unease about the nature of the relationship with the Greys. Some officials began to question the wisdom of the treaty, particularly as reports emerged that the Greys were not adhering to the agreed-upon limits for abductions. There were also concerns about the long-term effects of the Greys' genetic experiments on the human population. Despite these concerns, the treaty remained in place and the collaboration continued. The underground bases. One of the most controversial aspects of the Great Treaty was the construction of underground bases where the U.S. government and the Greys would work together on various projects. These bases were designed to be highly secure and completely isolated from the outside world, ensuring that the activities conducted within would remain hidden from public scrutiny. The most famous of these bases is, of course, Area 51. Located in the Nevada desert, Area 51 has long been the subject of speculation and conspiracy theories. While the U.S. government officially acknowledged the existence of Area 51 in 2013, they have consistently denied that it is home to extraterrestrial technology or that it is used for any purpose other than testing experimental aircraft. However, those who believe in the Great Treaty argue that Area 51 is just the tip of the iceberg. According to various sources, there are numerous underground facilities across the United States, some of which are even deeper and more secure than Area 51. These bases are said to house advanced technology, including anti-gravity devices, energy weapons, and even fully operational spacecraft. They are also believed to be the sites of genetic experiments conducted by the Greys, with human subjects taken from the population at large. These underground bases are reportedly connected by a vast network of tunnels, allowing for the transport of personnel, equipment, and even spacecraft between facilities. The tunnels themselves are said to be equipped with high-speed rail systems capable of transporting people and materials across the country in a matter of hours. The secrecy surrounding these bases is so intense that even those within the government are often unaware of their existence or their true purpose. The cover-up. The U.S. government has gone to great lengths to keep the existence of the Great Treaty and the activities associated with it a secret. Over the years, a complex system of disinformation, intimidation, and manipulation has been put in place to ensure that the truth remains hidden. One of the key strategies employed by the government has been to discredit those who come forward with information about the treaty or the activities of the Greys. Whistleblowers, former government employees, and even abductees who attempt to share their experiences are often met with ridicule, threats, or even physical harm. In some cases, individuals who have come too close to the truth have been silenced permanently. The government has also employed a campaign of disinformation to confuse and mislead the public. False stories, fabricated documents, and staged UFO sightings have all been used to create a web of lies that obscures the truth. By flooding the public with contradictory information, the government has successfully created an environment in which it is nearly impossible to separate fact from fiction. In addition to these efforts, the government has also relied on the cooperation of the media to maintain the cover-up. Over the years, journalists and media outlets have been co-opted, either through direct influence or subtle pressure, to suppress stories related to the Greada Treaty and the activities of the Greys. As a result, the mainstream media has largely ignored or ridiculed those who attempt to bring the truth to light. Despite these efforts, there have been occasional leaks and revelations that suggest the government's involvement with extraterrestrials is more than just a conspiracy theory. Documents released through the Freedom of Information Act, whistleblower testimonies, and even statements from former government officials have all pointed to the possibility that the U.S. government has been hiding the truth about its relationship with extraterrestrial beings for decades. The legacy of the Greada Treaty. The legacy of the Greada Treaty, if it indeed exists, is a complicated and controversial one. On the one hand, the advanced technology provided by the Greys has undoubtedly benefited the U.S. in terms of military and scientific advancements. Some even argue that the technology obtained through the treaty has been instrumental in maintaining the U.S.'s position as a global superpower. On the other hand, the moral and ethical implications of the treaty are deeply troubling. The decision to allow human abductions in exchange for technology raises serious questions about the government's responsibility to protect its citizens. The secrecy surrounding the treaty has also eroded public trust in the government, contributing to a growing sense of paranoia and distrust. In recent years, there has been a renewed interest in uncovering the truth about the Greada Treaty and the U.S. government's relationship with extraterrestrials. As more information comes to light, the calls for transparency and accountability have grown louder. Some believe that it is only a matter of time before the full truth is revealed, while others fear that the government will continue to suppress the information indefinitely. The ethical dilemma. One of the most troubling aspects of the Greada Treaty is the ethical dilemma it presents. By agreeing to the terms of the treaty, the U.S. government made a calculated decision to trade human lives for technological advancement. This decision raises serious questions about the moral responsibilities of those in power. For the government officials involved, the choice may have seemed like a necessary evil. The Cold War was a time of unprecedented global tension, and the pressure to maintain a technological edge over the Soviet Union was immense. The offer of advanced technology from the Greys presented an opportunity that was difficult to refuse. But in accepting the deal, the government effectively sacrificed the well-being and safety of its citizens for the sake of national security. This ethical compromise has had long-lasting consequences. Those who were abducted as part of the treaty's terms have suffered physical and psychological trauma. Many have been left with lingering questions and a deep sense of violation. And for the families of those who never returned, the pain of loss is compounded by the knowledge that their loved ones were taken as part of a secret government agreement. The Greys' true intentions. While the Greys presented their offer as a mutually beneficial arrangement, there are lingering doubts about their true intentions. Some researchers and whistleblowers have suggested that the Greys' interest in genetic research may be part of a larger, more insidious agenda. According to some theories, the Greys are a dying species, facing the threat of extinction due to genetic deterioration. Their abductions and experiments on humans are believed to be part of an effort to incorporate human genetic material into their own species in order to strengthen their gene pool and ensure their survival. If true, this would mean that the Greys view humanity not as equals, but as a resource to be exploited for their own gain. These theories suggest that the Greys' ultimate goal may be to create a hybrid species, part human, part Grey, that can inherit the Earth once humanity has been sufficiently weakened or eradicated. The underground bases and genetic experiments could be part of a long-term plan to achieve this goal. The role of the U.S. government. In agreeing to the terms of the Greada Treaty, the U.S. government played a pivotal role in facilitating the Greys' activities. By providing access to human subjects and underground facilities, the government enabled the Greys to carry out their experiments with impunity. This collaboration has led to a deep sense of mistrust among the American public. The idea that the government would knowingly allow its citizens to be abducted and experimented on by extraterrestrials is a betrayal of the most fundamental social contract, that the government's primary responsibility is to protect its people. The government's role in the cover-up has only exacerbated this mistrust. By suppressing information and discrediting those who come forward with their experiences, the government has created an environment in which the truth is nearly impossible to discern. This has fueled a growing sense of paranoia and suspicion, with many people believing that the government is hiding far more than just the existence of extraterrestrials. The search for truth. Despite the government's efforts to keep the truth hidden, there is a growing movement of people dedicated to uncovering the reality behind the Greada Treaty. Researchers, whistleblowers, and ordinary citizens are working tirelessly to piece together the fragments of evidence that have surfaced over the years. This search for truth has taken many forms. Some have turned to the Freedom of Information Act to obtain declassified documents that may shed light on the government's involvement with extraterrestrials. Others have conducted their own investigations, interviewing witnesses and gathering testimony from those who claim to have been abducted or have worked in underground bases. The internet has also played a crucial role in the search for truth. Online communities and forums have provided a platform for people to share their experiences and theories, connecting individuals from all over the world who are seeking answers. This has helped to build a collective body of knowledge that challenges the official narrative and raises important questions about what the government is hiding. The future of disclosure. As the search for truth continues, there is hope that the full extent of the U.S. government's involvement with extraterrestrials will one day be revealed. Some believe that we are on the brink of a major disclosure event, one in which the government will be forced to admit its dealings with the Greys and the existence of the Greada Treaty. Such a disclosure would have profound implications for society. It would not only confirm the existence of extraterrestrial life, but also raise questions about the ethical responsibilities of governments in dealing with otherworldly beings. The revelation that the government has been complicit in human abductions would undoubtedly lead to public outrage and demands for accountability. However, there are also concerns that the government will continue to resist disclosure, fearing the potential backlash and loss of control. The secrecy surrounding the Greada Treaty has been maintained for decades, and those in power may be unwilling to relinquish that control. The story of Eisenhower's secret treaty with extraterrestrials is one that raises more questions than answers. Whether or not the Greada Treaty is real, the possibility that the U.S. government has been involved in a covert relationship with extraterrestrial beings for decades is a tantalizing and deeply unsettling one. As the search for truth continues, it is important to remain vigilant and critical of the information that is presented. The U.S. government has shown that it is willing to go to great lengths to keep certain information hidden, and the story of the Greada Treaty is no exception. Whether through disinformation, intimidation, or outright deception, the truth has been kept from the public for far too long. But as more and more people come forward with their experiences, and as new evidence emerges, the possibility of uncovering the truth grows stronger. The question remains, will the U.S. government ever come clean about its dealings with extraterrestrials? Or will the truth remain hidden in the shadows, buried under layers of secrecy and denial? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. The search for the truth about the Grata Treaty and the shocking reason Eisenhower may have signed a secret agreement with extraterrestrials will continue. And in the end, the truth, no matter how unsettling, must come to light.